Welcome to the Business Command Bootcamp. My name is Alexander and I'm super glad to have you with us. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule in order to attend this live stream workshop. We want the show to be entertaining, I want it to be compelling, and I want it to be jam-packed full of content that's going to help you move the needle and improve your quality of life and improve the quality of success and fulfillment that you're able to create with your business every day. Many of you are here probably because you saw my Facebook ads. I know many of you have registered who are already in our community, so I just want to start by thanking you. Thank you for being here. And if you're watching this live stream workshop, it's probably because you're a business owner or an entrepreneur who wants to feel more in command of their business. So let me define command, because this is a word that I have begun to use under my own power because I wanted to find a statement that helps communicate a concept that transcends the day-to-day challenges and the different specific problems that each of our clients face or business owners face in the development of their business, right? Many business owners go out into the world and they're wanting to solve very particular challenges. Lead acquisition challenges, content marketing challenges, IT challenges, hiring challenges. And all of those, I believe, lead back essentially to the same place. Business owners start a business because they have a mission, they have a product, they have a service, they have a longing to make a difference in the world. I'm sure that's you. And what happens is we start often with this highest value. We start with this missionful idea, this concept that's very ideal, it's very objective, it's something that we want to dedicate our lives to. So we begin this journey of entrepreneurialism, and we have to begin making capital investments, right? For some of us, that means we hire. For others, it means we acquire literal equipment. For some of us, it means we move into office space, or we end up investing in online technology, or in lead acquisition, or in branding, etc. And over time, we end up collecting these resources that we end up accountable for, right? It's impossible to put systems into motion. It's impossible to hire employees. It's impossible to step out into the world and take on accountability without that accountability then requiring some of your time and attention. And so what happens for many business owners is those capital costs, those assets, those systems end up becoming incredibly unwieldy. They end up becoming very challenging. Business owners end up moving from this place where they started, which is this idealistic vision, this idealistic cause. We're out in the world trying to make a difference, and we end up having to manage day-to-day challenges with staff, day-to-day emergencies with clients, day-to-day technology failures. It loses its fun. It loses its meaning, right? And I'm not saying that the business becomes meaningless. I mean, don't get me wrong. All I'm saying is that for many of you business owners, you're doing far more work, far more hands-on, bottom of the org chart execution, right? And if you're lucky, you're spending a lot of time directly managing and very little time investing in the long-term vision, thinking strategically, or being out in the market, espousing the gospel of your brand and sharing the change that you want to make in the world. And that's what I'm on a mission to change. So my name is Alexander, and my stated mission statement, Measurable Genius's mission statement, is to help business owners and entrepreneurs like you find their story, acquire new leads, and scale their business, okay? You're the ones who are taking on challenges, wanting to do something meaningful with your life. And I am dedicated to helping you do that. I'm dedicated to helping people find meaning in their lives, because to me, I want to make every single breath I take I want it to mean something. I want my life to mean something. I want to live a life of meaning. And I know that as a business owner, although you may be distracted day to day, or you may have made it about your business, or you may have made it about your product or your service, I know that the same is true for you, that you want to live a life of meaning. And so I'm dedicated to that. I'm dedicated to helping you break down the barriers, identify the constraints, index, prioritize, and activate whatever is necessary in your business today on this live stream workshop so that you can go powerfully into the world and make every moment of your life matter. I want you to be able to make your life mean something And I know that in order to do that, you have to have clear frameworks. You have to have someone in your corner who can act as your second and help you cut away the baggage and the distractions and get focused on the mission and get activated on your priorities so that you can step into command of your business and you can be building your business and running your business instead of your business running you. We're going to switch gears. We're going to jump into the first topic, and we're going to break down how to index. We're going to break down what it means to index, what isn't index, and how you can apply indexing to your life and your business. So I'm going to just explain this concept to you, okay? From a software perspective, a database perspective. In the technology world, if you want to store data, one way to store data is in a database, okay? And a database is nothing more than a series of tables with columns and rows. And so in a database, you might have many tables with many columns and many rows. And I mean, it can basically be unlimited, right? You might have a table for user information, a table for the relationships of that user to other parts of the software. You might have whatever you've got going on in here. You've got data. This represents like a lot of information, okay? And so let's pretend that you're about to do a search query and you want to get your search results quickly. You likely don't want to have your search query at the time of your search jump over here and investigate every box at the time of your search query, because that would become very inefficient, especially when you've got many, many people performing many, many searches all at the same time. What you'll find is that if you have to recursively search an entire database every time you want to find one piece of information, that the server is going to basically get hammered and you're not going to be able to provide a high quality of service. Search results are going to take a long time. The quality of those search results are going to be poor, etc. So what we do, or in this case, in this example, what Google does, is they build an index. And an index is an intermediary. It has a bunch of information in it where we've essentially created algorithms Algorithm means questions, ways of looking at the world, a framework, or a lens, right? A window into a greater data set, okay? And so now what we're able to do is when we perform the search query, we're going to grab those results from the index because the index has prepared the answers to likely questions. So we're basically predicting through frameworks, through identifying common themes, deduplicating data, eliminating superfluous information, not searching tables or rows that contain information that isn't user-facing or is not relevant to their search query. And it primes the index with the answers that a person might be looking for. Or at the very least, it readies the information that you're likely to search for up front instead of forcing you to wait while it recurses through the back end. And what that does is it separates the systems. So over here you have a search system. So the search system can be making queries over and over and over against the index, and the index is constantly recompiling and constantly reorganizing based on the changing data set in the database. Is that making sense? You guys following me? Yeah? Okay. So that's an index. I'd like you to imagine an index as simply a way of organizing information. All right? I'll give you some examples of some more traditional indexing technologies. Your contacts list has an index in it called first name, last name, or last name, first name. That's a way of indexing your contact list, okay? I don't know how old many of you are, but my grandfather, before he passed away, I remember going to his house and sitting in his den, and he had, it was like a metal book that would open like this, and there was a little slider where you could like slide the thing down to the A, B, C, D, E, right? And what it was overlapping pieces of paper inside the metal thing. So you'd slide the little thing down to, let's say, M, and when you push the button and it opened, it would open up to the M section. You know what I'm talking about? This is old school, before the internet, man, right? We didn't even have this internet superhighway thing that I'm talking to you right now through. Like, this video stuff is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, what is that called? It's like a Rolodex, but it wasn't a Rolodex, right? That is an index, okay? A recipe book with a table of contents in it. The table of contents is an index. The recipe book has all the data, but you're likely not to search for ingredients. You're not going to buy a recipe book and search the recipe book for flour or butter, right? You're not likely to search a recipe book for those things, but what you are likely to search a recipe book for is pies, right? Roasts, potato dishes. And so a table of contents in a recipe book is an index. We've parsed away all the irrelevant data, and we're presenting the data that's most useful to the user that acts as an intermediary for us to find, you know, pot roast extraordinaire on page 21. Okay, everybody following me? I hope that I have clearly defined what an index is. So what I'd like to communicate to you guys is this. A business owner has an accountability to manage their resources wisely according to a purpose, okay? You have a stated purpose for your organization, or perhaps an unconscious purpose for your organization, or maybe you have a purpose for your organization and the one you've written down is a little different, but I know that somewhere inside that, you know, mind of yours, Mr. Visionary or Mrs. Visionary, that there is a reason, an end in mind, some final outcome for why you started your business to begin with, okay? And so really, if you look at the accountability of a CEO, right? The CEO is ultimately accountable to making sure that all of the resources that an organization needs in order to survive, grow, and prosper are managed effectively towards that end. Fair? That's what a business owner's job is. So here's the question. If you don't know what resources you have because you can't find them or you don't know what to look for, then how can you possibly manage your resources effectively to get there? So here's the thing. I'm not making a generic statement like, you don't manage your resources very well. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is I guarantee you there are certain resources in your business that are underutilized, underleveraged, underpositioned, inappropriately aligned with whatever it is the outcome or whatever outcome it is that you'd like. And you have resources in your life that you haven't even identified yet. You don't even know that they exist because nobody has helped you form the appropriate search query in order to act on those resources. Okay? Is that making sense? So a business owner, in other words, most business owners have lots of stuff in their business. Okay? Let's replace database now. Let's replace the concept of database with systems, processes, human being employees, buildings, right? Financial obligations like leases and financing and accounts payable, accounts receivable. You've got all these things going on. You've also accumulated assets, right? Maybe you've got content. Maybe you have like copy that you've written over time. Maybe you have cultural principles that you've been collecting over time. Maybe you have, previous process documentation. Maybe you have like stuff that you've collected, like ideas and things that you've discovered on the internet, marketing inspiration. Maybe you've got education and courses that you haven't used yet, right? You've been collecting stuff. You've been collecting things that you don't even know you've been collecting, all right? And so I just want you to imagine this for a second. How many of you are like, all right, guys, let's go build something new. Let's solve a problem. And then you realize that your first problem is that in order to find the resources you need in your business, you actually then have to go first through your business and collect them because they're everywhere, right? Maybe you haven't got your website organized, so you can't do the campaign because the website isn't put together. Maybe you want to reorganize your filing or do your taxes, let's go there. Maybe you want to do your taxes, but your expense receipts are over there and over here, and some of your paperwork is in this email, and some of your paperwork is over here with that employee, and maybe this account has the password. I don't know, right? The first step for many business owners is often straight up hindered because there's this wall in place called, before you can put the resources to work, you have to go find, recover, collect, or inventory the resources that you have. Or here's an idea. Maybe you're like, all right, guys, let's plan what next year is going to look like, but you don't have a budget built and your bookkeeping isn't up to date. And so now for you to do your budget for next year, you have to do your bookkeeping, and then you have to support the bookkeeping with the paperwork. We're going back 4 layers of indexing, right? You haven't indexed your bills in your paperwork, so you haven't therefore indexed your accounting, and because you haven't indexed your accounting, now you can't do your budget. Because you haven't indexed your budget, you can't do your life plan. Or you can't do your business planning. Because you can't do your business planning, you can't do your life plan. That sucks. Here's what you might be feeling if this is happening to you, right? I would imagine you have some concern for your sustainability, right? People who don't have a full appreciation for their resources, a full appreciation for all of their resources under management. For people who don't feel like their kingdom is clearly containing all their stuff. You've probably got a bit of anxiety going on. It's impossible not to. You can't have something you haven't kept track of and not feel anxious about it. Yes, no? Like, if you have accountabilities in your life, I don't care who you are, if you're unconscious of them and they exist, you have anxiety. It's happening. You are concerned, worried, afraid, not sure, right? You are probably feeling kind of useless, like every time I go to do something, I'm confronted by baggage. That's another way to look at it, right? You want to go do a project, and it's always a matter of, well, I would go do the project, but this other thing isn't done. That's challenging. You might also have a pretty consistent nagging fear that you're not making good decisions. And you're probably right, because if you're making decisions without an index, you might be missing a piece of information. You might have not very clearly understood what your reality was, and as a result, made a decision that was built on information that was incorrect. And then you end up having to deal with that. It might feel like the business is moving through molasses, all right? And incapable of making decisions. Some people just get frozen. Some people, if they don't have enough information, simply freeze. So maybe some of those things describe you. Here's what can happen if you apply the process of clearly indexing resources in your business, okay? You will likely find that what is apparently chaos, right? You've got this database that looks like apparent chaos, or you've got resources that are in chaos, literally in chaos. And what you'll find is that when you bring systems into order, when you organize them, when you go into your life and you collect all your bills and you put them in the system, or you go out into your life and you collect all of the information you need to make a decision, or you go out in your life and you collect all of the stuff in your warehouse and you put it in order and you can see your inventory allocation and your inventory value. What you'll find is that the information, when it's collected in full, often automatically reveals priority automatically. Is that making sense, what I just said? Simply by performing an inventory of a given subject matter or a given resource or a given material in your domain, oftentimes the next action, the next priority, the next investment, the next thing, the next hire, the next action becomes automatically present. Because when you put everything in front of you, the obvious answer stands out. Okay? So that's a benefit. You'll be able to delegate easy because you'll be able to see clearly, hey, you do this, hey, you do this, hey, you do this. You can't delegate what you don't know about. Okay? And things will speed up in your business. If you keep your books up to date, you can make good financial decisions. If you keep your business planning up to date, you're going to make good strategic decisions. If you put your inventory up to date, you're going to make good inventory buying decisions. If you don't keep your inventory in order, you might end up double buying inventory, wasting money, throwing inventory away, right? In restaurants, this is a significant issue because if you don't know what inventory you have, you end up with waste and food costs, and that's not good. So ultimately, indexing is about asking high-quality questions in your life. Indexing is a process of asking questions, and asking questions is not a simple thing. My mentor, Dr. John DeMartini, taught me that the quality of my life, the quality of your life, is based on the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. And so I'm going to make that very tactical for you. We're going to discuss in the next section a specific framework that you can use that provides the inventory and helps you get it in order of priority, okay? And that is a series of high-quality questions. A business planning framework is a series of high-quality questions. For example, aligning your bookkeeping with bookkeeping best practices is the same as asking and answering a series of high-quality accounting questions. If you align your business with high-quality questions, you'll end up with high-quality results. And high-quality questions represent the indices that you can use to get access to the data, the information, and the resources in your business that you need to move forward. Okay? So you have to essentially begin the practice of finding and acting according to high-quality questions instead of always believing that you have to have the answer. A business owner's primary mandate is to ask these questions, not have all answers. Okay? Questions meaning indexes. You have to index yourself as a visionary and as a business owner and determine what is most meaningful and important to you. That's a form of index. You have to act on that information and apply it to your team and your executives. So when we talk about indexing, we break it down this way. You, the CEO, the visionary. It all starts with you. Who are you? Why are you doing what you're doing? And what is most meaningful and important to you? That's how I index visionaries. Everything in your business, the values of your business, the culture of your business is built on your mission, it's built on your values, it's built on what's most meaningful and important to you. We also want to index your executive team in the same way, and your middle management and your, let's call them your operating team, your employees, right? And we want to make sure that we index the business. We want to index the functional accountabilities. We want to index the process accountabilities. We want to index the market. We want to make sure that we understand who our customer is, what it is they want, why it is they want it, what's going to happen if they don't get it, right? And furthermore, we want to make sure that we index all of the critical systems in your business so that you can share information effectively with your team, with your culture, with the market, with your prospects, and you can do that simply by starting here. So the takeaway that I want you guys to have from this module is this. You can make your life a whole bunch easier if you step back a level. Many of you are thinking you need to work harder, do more, expend more energy, go out into the world and do more activity, spend more hours in the office, spend more hours putting your hands on tools, and you could get exponential results if you equipped your company and equipped your team by going through the process of indexing everything in your business that is not in order, that you do not have full command over, that you're not aware of in its entirety, and you know what those things are by now. And so I would love for you to share what the number one system, process, area, function, team, accounting, bookkeeping system is most out of order, most distributed, most chaotic, most unknown, most mismanaged, most disorganized for you. Prioritization is a very simple concept, okay? Here's an interesting fun fact. Priority, as a word, was not pluralized until recently, like in the last 40 years. Until the last 40 years or something like that, there was only priority. And it was only priority because there can be only one, okay? You have a hierarchy, any hierarchy. There can only be one most important thing, period. You can only, in any given context, in any given lens, in any one hierarchy, have one most important thing. So let me just walk this back a level. You can only have one most important thing to do next, one most important thing to do today, one most important thing to do this week, one most important thing to do this month, and so on. You can't do more than one thing at one time. Multitasking is nothing more than task switching. And when you give both things equal merit and equal priority, neither of them are. That's just how it is, okay? Now, the question is, how do you prioritize, okay? Because it's easy for me to say, this is how you prioritize. Oh, put it in order. There's only one thing at the top. Thanks, genius. Yes, I know. You're welcome. Here's the thing. Prioritization depends on a concept called value. The thing that is of more value should be higher than the thing that is of lesser value in the list of priorities. So let's make this real about your business, okay? In your business, you might have a 90-day plan. You should have a 90-day plan. And that 90-day plan should consist of 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 major rocks that you're going to work on this quarter. And those 5 major rocks should boil down ultimately to personal accountabilities, which are taken on by you, your executive team, and your team members. And each of you should therefore then have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 accountabilities in order, which support ultimately the 5 in the business, which ultimately support the longer 1-year, 3-year, and longer term trajectories in the business, okay? Now, how do you determine what is highest priority for the business? Fair question, right? And you'll note that in the last section I said it was important to inventory you, the visionary, the business leader, the person who's in charge, the ontological driving factor behind the reason, or who is the reason for that business's existence. Ultimately, the thing that is most important should be what is most meaningful. And meaningfulness is ultimately a unique property to you. You determine what is most meaningful. So therefore, you determine what is most important. And no outside authority can tell you that. No outside authority can tell you that. I would rather have the whole world against me than my own soul, as some great philosopher once said. I do not want an outside authority's perception on what is most meaningful and important to me. I want to honor what is truly most meaningful and important to me, according to me. So how do we do this? We take you, the visionary, and we ultimately determine through a process what is truly most meaningful and important to you first. That's the first step. So, 1, what's most meaningful and important to the visionary? Done. Next, if you're running a business, one of those things that's meaningful and important to you as a visionary is likely business. And then there's going to be other things in this list. And whatever's here is probably the reason that your business exists. And then it's colored and flavored, let's say, by these other things. Okay? So let's exclude business from the equation, because you have a business. So the values of a business can't be business. And let's say then, ultimately, that if the business exists because of you, and the business itself is important, but these other things are really the drivers, we literally take these and we put them down here and we go, what are the values of the business? 1, 2, 3, 4, in order. Great. Now this is what's most important to the business. Infinitely sustainable the values of a business are, as Yoda would say. I don't know why the fuck I just said it that way. That was kind of weird. Let's try that again. A business's values are immortal. Your personal values are immortal. You will do what is most meaningful and important to you for the sake of itself intrinsically, over and over. And in the same way, the business will do what's most meaningful and important to it intrinsically. These values have no beginning, no end. They exist immortally through time and space. And so therefore, the activities of the business on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and ongoing basis should be aligned as best as possible with these core values in order for the business to become sustainable in its culture and in its expression of meaning and story, which ultimately inform both your marketing and your internal processes, procedures, functions, and operations, because these are the most sustainable factors. Then we reverse engineer that further into what we use when we work with our clients, which are called the one-page strategic plan, where we take these values, put them there, and then we break that down all the way to present day. So you're going to see this. We take the priority of priorities, what the Greeks call the telos, the end in mind, your purpose, the thing that is literally the highest priority of priorities. We reverse engineer that and imbue it into the business, which becomes the most meaningful priority in the business. We reverse engineer that further into a mission statement and a big, hairy, audacious goal. We then break that down further into 3 to 5 year thrusts, 5 of them, 1 year plans and goals, 5 of them, 90-day rocks, 5 of them, and then ultimately personal accountabilities, 5 of them. Here's where we end up with that. This is by definition prioritization. I took the most meaningful and important priority, turned it into a business, imbued that business with culture, which represents the most meaningful activities and values. We turned those values into a mission statement and a big, hairy, audacious goal that exists some ridiculous length of time into the future, something like 25 years. We use that as the reference point, along with the values in the mission statement, to determine how many 3 to 5 year segments there are between us and that. And we determine what the most important 5 next actions or thrusts would be in that business. So we determine the most important 3 to 5 year thrusts, which then inform what is most important and meaningful in terms of our 1 year priorities or objectives, which then inform what must be the highest priorities for us to achieve in the next 90 days, which then informs what is most meaningful and important to me as a person who is accountable to tasks in the business today to get shit done, to move my life forward. And by doing this, we carve a path right straight through into the future of our dreams. Straight up. Here's the deal. Business owners live in one of 2 worlds, totally deprioritized or totally prioritized. It's almost impossible to live a life of low priorities when you focus on your highest priority. Honestly, marketing is my favorite. I am really loving it. I'm loving marketing. I'm loving the concept of taking what is most meaningful and important to us, most meaningful and inspiring to us and to our customers and to our prospects, and sharing those stories with the world through this machine called marketing. Because what I'm discovering is when the message and the story and the meaning are congruent, when the offer is clear, it just works. It just works. It's working for us. It's working for our clients. And so it's a super fun thing to talk about, and for me, it's an appropriate time in my life because I've spent 15 years indexing and prioritizing, and so now that we're out in the market and we're activating, we're killing it, okay? Killing it, straight up killing it. We've had the most successful quarter ever, and I'm not elated about it because it's like ass loads of work. We work really hard for our clients, but I love collecting evidence for my own success as it relates to the fulfillment of my mission. So for me, my mission is to build a business that helps business owners and entrepreneurs find their story, acquire new leads, and scale their business. And so when my marketing is effective, I have the opportunity to fulfill my mission. And so that's exciting. And I'm grateful for that opportunity. So let's talk about, though, why I'm able to be successful with my marketing and what makes marketers successful and why most businesses never get their marketing off the ground. And arguably, it's as simple as it doesn't get off the ground because the first two steps aren't done right. What if I told you that marketing is easy if you've done these other two steps first? What if I told you that if you understood and you could communicate a compelling narrative around the core values and principles of your business in a way that provokes your clients and your prospects to take action, that marketing is actually pretty predictable? It's not really all that much of a gamble. If you're out in the market sharing a message that resonates and communicates clearly a story of transformation and indicates expertise that would help your clients solve a problem, and if you can demonstrate that you understand their problem well enough that you can serve them and solve that, then ultimately people want to make a buying decision in your favor. And the only reason why they wouldn't in that case is because there's some kind of values challenge or values misalignment, or they just don't like you. That's basically it. If you see clearly that someone has expertise that can solve your problem, you will automatically want to buy their stuff. I mean, that's basically how it works, isn't it, Stephen? Like, it's not like I have to convince you. If it's evident to you, you will take action. So in my belief, you are, or many entrepreneurs and business owners are, and many of our clients start desperately chasing leads because they need the money, right? Marketing comes from a needs-driven position. It's like, well, I scaled up a business that's now kind of unwieldy and expensive, and I've got these capital costs and these recurring expenses, and I gotta cover my bills, so I'm marketing out of necessity, all right? That's where many of you start. And many people in that position are totally unwilling to spend money on marketing because they're perceiving it to be a gamble and they perceive it as risky. And it is risky because they're throwing money out into the marketplace without aligning that spend and aligning that communication with the first two steps that we've discussed previously. If you don't really understand all of the material resources at your disposal, including the resources of your cultural values, the resources of your brand promises, the resources of your 7 strata of strategy, the core foundational story points that your brand stands for that you can bake into your marketing and your video communication. If you don't have those materials well indexed and well organized, your marketing is going to be really hard, right? And it becomes really overwhelming because when those things don't exist, when you don't have that stuff nailed, you end up becoming preoccupied with tech. And then we start having conversations about Facebook and how ads on Facebook are complicated and how people are challenged to figure out whether they should do LinkedIn or Pinterest or should I be on Facebook? Is Facebook a good thing? Guys, there's 1 billion people on Facebook. It's a good thing. Like, I don't know. I probably don't have to convince you to advertise on Facebook. I think you probably should, but that's not the point of today's exercise, all right? So I don't want you stuck in stories of victimhood. Here's the thing. Oh my gosh, some exciting stuff is happening up there. Here's the thing. If you are stuck and feeling desperate, we need to back up the bus and we need to figure this thing out. We need to activate on a foundation of clear, prioritized story and well-indexed resources. If you'd like your marketing in the marketplace, which is external marketing, or a culture in your business, inward marketing, to be sustainable. Okay, so I'd like to redefine marketing. I'd like to relabel marketing as strategy. Your marketing communication is the strategy of the business, and the strategy of the business is your culture. And as John so wisely said, it's very wise, your culture are your disciplines or your habits or what he calls rhythms. Okay, so how do we activate? In order to activate your culture, in order to activate your business, in order to activate your employees, in order to activate someone who's stuck, in order to activate you, I need to compel you. I first have to capture your attention, right? I have to capture your attention before I can do anything else. Fair? Can't sell something to somebody without their attention. So, in order to activate, we have to have attention. Once we've got that attention, we need to communicate a story, because human beings are driven by story. Human beings are driven by story of transformation. We're driven by a perception that we can gain, receive, or transform value. And stories indicate the transformation of value. Okay? And then you can make offers to those people. Now, let's walk through this. Let's say we're talking to an employee, and you want your employee to do a job differently. Okay? We have to follow these steps. Number one, capture that employee's attention. Get that employee to understand the story, which is aligned with values. And then enroll that employee into a different behavior by making an offer and getting them to accept. Okay? Marketing is the same. Sales is the same. Your relationship with your husband or your wife, or whatever you want to label them, is the same. In order for you to proceed through life effectively, you have to get this system together. You got to understand this cycle. So here's the question. How do you capture attention? What do you build your story on so that you can make the offers, right? Because this part here, the offers, that's the easiest part. The irony here is the offer is the easiest part. Okay? The offer should ultimately be self-evident, because the other two parts have been done so well, and they've been done really well because you've done that with an index and a priority in mind. Okay? Are you following me so far, guys? So, I really want to share with you something very, very simple. Okay? If you want to activate anything at all, essentially, you're trying to drive people into taking action. We need to help them become free of needing to make a decision. How do we help people make decisions? I said in the previous segment that businesses are limited in their scale by the capacity of a team to make good decisions. So how is all of this done? Again, it starts with you. Let's do an index. Let's determine what's most meaningful and important to you as a business owner. Let's take those top 3 values, or the top 4 things that are most meaningful and important, and let's turn those things into story. And then let's turn that story into marketing. Literally a video, literally a written post, literally audio. I haven't drawn music notes in like more than a decade, right? This is how you activate people, right? But people are complicated. People are driven by motivations that many of them don't understand, right? Many people don't understand their own motivations. Even fewer understand the motivations of others. But it doesn't change the fact that you ultimately have to take action. You have to activate your business into the market. So I'm going to basically attempt to do one thing in this segment, which is enroll you into communicating your values in a very particular way. This applies to your culture. This applies to your family. This can apply to any person in your life. We simply ask, what is it that they want? Why is it that they want it? What's going to happen if they don't get it? And what obstacles they're going to face along the way. This helps people reach a buying decision, okay? A buying decision. Now, buying decisions could just simply be called decisions. This helps people make good decisions. We don't need to sell people. We don't need to convince them. We don't need to enroll them into doing something that they don't understand. We don't need to get them to take a fast action discount. We don't need to pad our offers with bonuses and inflate the value. We don't need to convince people that they should buy because they don't understand the benefits. We don't need to do any of that. If we simply help people make good buying decisions, if we simply engage in the following process of understanding that every human being is ultimately driven by a unique hierarchy of values, a unique set of decision-making criteria, things that are most important to them, what we can do is we can activate those people by telling them stories that align with these things. Now, what it is that they want and why it is that they want it and what's going to happen if they don't get it, this is your mission. This is the cause the business represents. This is your highest values. This is like where you get to take what's most meaningful and important to you and espouse it. And in fact, that's the number one job of a business owner. That's the number one job of a business owner, is to communicate, to storytell, and to ask high-quality questions that align team member behaviors with the values of the organization. What if I told you that the values of the organization represent the foundational fulcrum of your business? Okay? Your values are the fulcrum upon which your business, your values are the fulcrum upon which decisions are made in any one individual. And so therefore, you must communicate these values to these people in a way that helps them see clearly whether your values in your business support, challenge, or do both to the people in the market and the people in the company. You literally activate people by compelling them through storytelling to see transformation and possibility in their life, okay? So let me give you an example. We can activate an employee by determining what is most meaningful and important to that employee as a person, taking what's important to the organization and helping the employee see how what's most important and meaningful to them is aligned with what's most important to the organization and vice versa. Okay? We can take a customer and we can take the values of the organization, we can take the values of the customer, we can activate that customer by demonstrating to them how the values of the organization are going to support the values that they have and that how their values are going to support the values of the organization. By telling stories that are congruent with the values of the business that you stand for, which represent, remember, the highest priorities in the business. Where's that sheet? People automatically take action. Here's what prevents people from taking action: baggage, distraction, emotion. Okay? So every human being can have different types of perceptions. You can have a perception of positive experience, you can have a perception of a negative experience, and you can have a perception of a balanced and an integrated both type of experience here in the middle, okay? If you're having a positive experience, you're likely to label that good. If you're having a negative experience, you're likely to label that bad. If you're having an integrated experience, you're likely to say that's something to be grateful for. Okay? Every human being operates in this way. We all have this within our psychology. Every single one of us. We have reactions in our environment according to what we label good and what we label bad. Okay? And so what I'd like to show you here is that when we become distracted, when we become emotional, challenged, threatened, attacked, we tend to diverge away from our mission. We tend to diverge away from meaningful activities. We tend to move into instant gratification, stress response, the amygdala activates, we end up in alarm, we end up freezing, okay? The same thing happens when we're overly supported, when someone's overly praising, when we get cocky, when we get self-righteous, proud. What ends up happening is we tend to make risky decisions. We tend to step off into tangents. We tend to move into areas of life that are unimportant to us. We tend to believe we're capable of more than we actually are and take on more than we should, okay? These are the things that prevent us from being in action. These are the things that distract us from being in action. Here's the irony. Action is automatic when we're not in distraction. These states are distracting, okay? And they're distracting because we're infatuated, we're resentful, and we've forgotten about the cause. We've forgotten about what is truly meaningful and important. So the lesson that I want to share with you here today, guys, the lesson that we have here today is that once you know the mission, once you know what's meaningful and important, once you've completed the index and you can stay in alignment and you can stay on target because you have a clear line of sight. Remember, you've defined long-term values, big, hairy, audacious goal, 3 to 5 year thrusts, 1-year plan, 90-day goals, all of which provide you with this line of sight towards the mission. What you'll find is that you automatically take action. Because this has been clearly communicated, it becomes self-evident. You simply step into action. The irony here is that nothing is necessary for you to take action once the priorities are in order. But what is necessary is communication. What is absolutely necessary is communication. I'm sure you've heard the platitude that leaders should communicate very frequently. They should repeat themselves often. That's because communication of the values, the BHAG, the thrusts, the priorities, the focus, that communication reveals and eliminates distraction and helps us refocus on what's most meaningful and important and allows us to take action on what is self-evident. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. Action is not something you need to cause yourself to do. And if you're thinking you have to provoke yourself into taking action, I guarantee you are in some way distracted. You're not on the mission. You don't have all your material resources under command. You haven't gotten them prioritized, and you don't have them here in a way where you can just move clearly in a line of sight towards a high priority, and you're off in the weeds. So that's where we go. That's why we go to marketing with activation. We need to market. Once we have this stuff well defined, let's just go back. Once we have all this defined, the CEO's number one mandate is to do two things. Because again, I said earlier in the broadcast that a CEO's job is to spend as much time in the market as possible. Well, the new market is called video advertising, video content on platforms like Facebook and YouTube. And those view minutes that we're collecting of you people watching our videos, those view minutes are equivalent to me being in the market. The more I'm in the market communicating these meaningful priorities, the more likely my team and my customers are to automatically assist me in taking action. To the degree that I communicate priorities effectively and to the degree that my customers and my employees understand and they hear our priorities, our values, and our stories, automatic action occurs. And you'll see that all forces of nature come together in order to help you fulfill your dreams when you're clear in articulating them to the world. So the trick here is in order to activate, you must communicate, and you must communicate religiously. You are, in fact, a preacher, and you must espouse the gospel of your brand, your culture, and your values internally and externally from now until forever.